While doing my background research on the infamous gangster and wannabe boss of bosses, Carmine Galante, I managed to download a public copy of his records under the Freedom of Information Act. But something was off in this heavily redacted record, not just that his whole criminal history and the various crimes committed on the date seemed disordered, but his date and place of birth. If you Google search Carmine Galante, amongst the first results to pop up is his Wikipedia page, and if you read it, you'll see what says, and I quote, "Camillo Carmine Galante was born on February 21, 1910, in a tenement building in the East Harlem section of Manhattan." His parents, Vincenzo James Galante and Vincenza Russo, had immigrated from Castellamare del Golfo, Sicily, to New York City in 1906, where Vincenzo was a fisherman. I know Wikipedia can be very wrong at times. I found that out when I did research of other infamous gangsters, the hard way. But I cross-referenced his Wikipedia page and it seemed aligned with credible information, or so they say. However, keep the year of his parents' arrival into the United States in mind as we continue. If you have read the New York Times bestseller, 5 Families, The Rise, Decline, and Resurgence of America's Most Powerful Mafia Empires by Selwyn Robb, the book says, and I quote, "Galante was born in 1910 and reared in the mafiosi enclave of East Harlem." The book further reads, at age 10, Galante was sent briefly to reform school as an incorrigible juvenile defendant for truancy and a string of street robberies. 7 years later, he was convicted of assault and sentenced to Sing Sing prison. That would make it the year 1926 when he was sentenced to Sing Sing prison. Now pulling up the FBI records, I scrolled through and came across another heavily redacted section which reads partially as follows. During a parole investigation in 1938 of the subject, being Galante, it was noted that his parents came to the United States 24 years prior to that time. Which means his parents came to the United States in 1914, but then that would make Galante at least 4 years old. So where exactly was he born? Then his criminal records dates back to 1926. That also shows he was 16 going on 17 years old when he was sent to Sing Sing prison. So I had to scroll further down and found a second file or PDF which reads the following. In view of conflicting information as to Galante's background as shown in ReRep, additional investigation should be conducted to definitely resolve his date and place of birth. He uses the first name of Carmine, but the birth record found by you is under the first name Camillo. Although such a situation is not unusual, it may be possible that the subject is claiming a birth record not his own, but maybe of a deceased younger brother. It is noted that at age 28 he made a statement appearing in parole records that his family had been in the country 24 years. Also, if his 1910 birth record is correct, he would have been sentenced to Sing Sing prison at age 17 for a crime committed when he was 16. This is also possible, but in view of the fact that the state of New York had in existence at the time reformatories and other detention places for youthful defenders, the situation indicates a possibility that the subject was older than his original birth date would indicate. Then scrolling down even further, the record now stated his criminal records dated back to 1921, if I am not mistaken. If Galante's criminal record, in my opinion, dated back to 1921, he was but 11 years old. That would support the part of the book which says, Galante was sent briefly to reform school for truancy and a string of street robberies. Another important note to keep in mind is that a psychiatric report done on January 23, 1931 at Sing Sing prison indicated that Galante had the mental age of a 14-and-a-half-year-old with an IQ of 90. He was also diagnosed as a neuropathic, psychopathic personality and was emotionally dull. But that is a story I'm working on and will be available soon. Did Galante lie about his age? Did he claim the identity of a dead brother or relative, or was all this just a big mistake? That's a question I leave to you. I will leave links to the records in the comment section below, so you can make an assumption for yourself. Thanks for watching this short video. I just had to get it out there.